when you're towing, keep that hammer down. That's the best way I can put it, but with a little bit of brains. So why do you need to tow a certain speed? I'm specifically talking about those scenarios where you have a choice to semi and do 25 to 35 miles an hour climbing a hill, or you could push that skinny pedal. So I'm going to use my experience, what I've seen, what I've gathered, and common sense serves anyone that has plenty of experience, which common sense kicks in, right, when you have experience. But when you don't have experience in this world, you just don't know what to do. So I'll start out with, I had a driver that any truck he drove was always overheating. So the third truck that he got his hands on, it's overheating. So my guys reached out to me like, Paul, whatever this dude drives, he was an older guy, late 50s, everything overheats. Yeah, he's like, he's coming over the pass, he's calling us, he's coming to town. Yeah, he's coming to town. Tell him I want to see him. So I sat this old man down. Really good dude. Very clean driver. I mean, I have weather techs in my pickup trucks, and he puts microfiber towels over the weather techs so they don't get dirty. So I sat the dude down, and I'm like, why? Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you driving? Like, tell me exactly at what point the truck starts overheating, and what do? How do you aid it? So he's telling me he's traveling speed limit, and then as he's approaching the hill, as the truck starts slowing down, he does not like to add any more throttle. No more throttle input. This guy rarely ever used cruise, right? So he's babying the truck by not giving it a load. He comes down to 25, 30 to 25 miles an hour, and that's where the truck's happy. According to him, that's where the truck's happy, at 25 miles an hour, and it climbs the hill. But then he starts grabbing temps like crazy, and I'm sitting there like, how does a person not comprehend what's going on? Well, the guy's just not a mechanic. What are you gonna do? Best intentions, best foot forward, right? He's babying the truck, he's taking it really easy. But this guy's climbing at 25 miles an hour right behind semis, probably the slowest line of semis, right? And he thinks there's a problem with the truck. Of course that truck's gonna grab temps. Of course that transmission's gonna form up. That pickup, the second gen's at 25 miles an hour. I don't even know if you could keep third locked in while hauling a load. There's a good chance it's in second gear burning the tranny, right? Probably not, but there's a good chance. So, fellas, figure out where your 1-to-1 is, right? In this truck, it's 7th gear. So, I get it. Don't goose it, don't juice it, don't grenade it by keeping the pedal to the floor. But in a situation where you've come down all the way to your 1-to-1, right? And you gotta either downshift or get on that throttle. Try to get on that throttle. I preach that less throttle, more RPM is always a better solution, but it's not the key to all solutions. So if you've come down to, in this case, you went to your 9th, 8th, and you're grabbing 7th, and give it more input, I would go as far as telling you, go at least half throttle. Lock it in 7th and try to pull it off in half throttle. Get on that throttle, build that boost, make that engine work. But I typically try to keep it above 45 miles an hour when I'm climbing. Depends what you're hauling, what's the temperature. So it's a fine balance between airflow and how hard the engine's working, right? RPM as well, don't baby it. I had a customer that would lock it in, 8th or 9th gear. He would try to climb at 1600 with a 3 to 4 car hauler because his buddy said, your engine only has so many revolutions until it's worn out. So the lower the speed, the better you are. So that poor 450 at 1600 RPM is just starting to make its, strong power, decent amount of power. He's just keeping it there 16 to 1700 while all along he has it just doesn't make sense. You need to be, about 2,200, 22 to 25, give or take. I probably want to go past 25 as far as a steady pull, but also want to go further than half throttle. See where your boost gauge is. Old truckers are going to say live by that thing, 20 psi and you're good, back off. Every truck's a little different. GMs are different, Rams are different, Fords are different. I mean, shoot, you get a 19 Ram versus a 21 tuning is far more relaxed than the 19 as far as building boost. Excuse me. So with that being said, consider everything, but throttle to the floor and locked in 7th gear is not a good solution. Drop another gear, get it in 6th, half throttle. So it's the fine balance between airflow and load. I always kind of side with, hey, let's put a good load on this engine. Don't have it wrapping out. Don't have it full throttle climbing that hill. But put a good load on it, and more airflow will get you further. Now, sometimes you just got to take it easy. Sometimes you just got to take it slow. There's no way about that. Don't be dumb about it. But the truck that my driver was using had plenty of power. You just got to get on it a little bit more, and that was an icing. So 4th gear, if anything, get a little run at it when you start the hill, and then just let it die out. Let it grab 4th, or let it grab 5th, and then 4th, and try to maintain 4th. Those 4th gens, the 2018s, had plenty of power to haul, an average gooseneck with some steel on it. So there's no logical reason that man should have been anywhere near the 25 to 35 bracket. So, what am I trying to tell you guys? Get on that throttle. Once you're up and moving on the interstate, and you got to pull along the hill climb, lock that gear. If you know that this truck has plenty of power, lock it in the gear if you can, if you got a Ford. If you can't, maybe drop a gear and then stay on it with the GMs and the Rams. But don't baby foot it and then wonder why your tranny's building all this heat and your engine's building all this heat. So yeah, that's the best way I can put it. You got to be at least halfway into the throttle when you're climbing that hill. Yeah, to sum it up, at least half throttle in that gear that you think you're going to make it. And if it's not pulling it off, drop another gear. But don't back off that throttle. Like I was telling you about the boost. What do these things top out? About 30, maybe in some change in some cases. I usually push at 27, 28 with plenty of RPM. If we're like middle of the hill or 3/4 of the hill. But if we're just starting out the hill and I'm barely keeping speed at 27, 28, nope, we're dropping another gear. I like my 25. I like my 22 to 25 PSI, 22 to 2500 RPM. It just gives it that 3/4. Take care of your capable far more. Especially when I'm gathering on these 25 Cummins, they are built for far more power. So I could see them kind of fine-tuning everything next couple of years, and after that, they're going to turn up the dial. Watch it. But any truck, guys, make it work. That's what diesels are. That's what diesels need. They need to work. They need to break a sweat. Just don't overwork them. And when you're done pulling that hill, do not shut it off. Let it cool off. Give it a good 5-10 minutes. Let it idle its way down. And just because the temps just came off, like let's just say you're pulling a hill, like this Ford's really good. You're pulling, 195 coolant, and now you're parked, and 2 minutes later you're 185, you're 181. Yeah, you're good. Nope, you're not. You just cooled off the liquid. Now let the liquid pull the heat out of the metal. So, a little bit of common sense, a little bit of being sober to the fact of the matter. Like just think about it. It'll go much longer and much. Your experience is going to be far more desirable. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of hill climbs to pull the hill, shut it off, pull the hill, shut it off, and then you're pissed off at Ram. Your turbo one at 70,000. I had a customer like that. He's like, well, fuel's expensive. I can't just let it sit there and idle. And you just sit there shaking your head. And turbos are far more expensive. And manifold gaskets, just the guy doesn't get it. And end of the day, he was so frustrated he got out of the industry. Anyways, help each other out. help your equipment out by letting it breathe. You know, let it cool off. Work on your filters, work on your fluids, but everything needs to be just like a human being. You know, it needs to be brought up to temp and needs to be cooled off as well. Anyways, may the good Lord bless you all. May you all have a mighty fine day.